This week on Storyboard, we are speaking with Michelle Taylor, Head Global Sports Sponsorships TCS, on how the company has been leveraging their sports sponsorship opportunities globally. With digital driving growth for Indian addicts this year, what are the do's and don'ts of digital advertising? We have M-Filter its CEO and founder Amit Relang speaking to us about it. And finally, we are in conversation with Lenskart founder Piyush Bansal about their recent campaign. Hello and welcome to Storyboard. I'm Shibani Gharat. Tata Consultancy Services, one of India's largest IT service provider, has been deepening its focus on sports sponsorship programs to increase brand awareness and recognition over the past many years, with investment in sports such as marathon running and more recently Formula E. Unusual for an IT company, you might imagine, whose primary business is B2B. But these associations and sponsorship deals with key events like Mumbai Marathon, London Marathon and the TCS New York City Marathon have had a sizable impact on the brand and their business in many regions. We are speaking with Michelle Taylor, Head Global Sports Sponsorships TCS, on how the company has been leveraging these opportunities globally. Let's take a look.
Michelle, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you, Shibani, for having me.
So I am really curious about, TCS's sponsorships around the world. You literally own the sport of running with various running events across the world. And there was recently concluded Formula E that TCS also invested in. Can you just share with us, how do you go about, when it comes to deciding on sponsorships of, these sporting events?
We use a framework really that marries up two things. One is our business objectives, and the other is our core values, right? So we look at properties and sponsorships that give us opportunities across those two buckets. We use our sponsorships to achieve three main objectives. Generally, these are the three areas that we want to see value. One is increasing our brand. And I'm not just talking about putting our logo on a sign. What we want to see is authentic storytelling, ways that we can use technology to really make a difference in that property, in that sports space. The second is build relationships with our clients, our prospects, our employees, even our future employees. And the third is to really drive impact, right? Make a difference in the communities where we work, live, and play.
And if you can give us an insight on how have these different, lines of sport helped TCS achieve that over the past few years?
Sure. So as you mentioned, our major areas of focus are endurance running and Formula E. Through each of those, we hit the different objectives, right? So the way that we measure value, certainly we've seen an increase in our brand finance rankings, and that's wonderful to see. We recently got named as one of Fortune's most admired companies. So those are all great outcomes of what we think are these sports investments. But quite honestly, the most meaningful that we see are these almost intangibles. We hear day in, day out from our employees how running is literally transforming their lives, right? Stories from clients around these shared experiences. When you experience a marathon with somebody, it's a life-changing experience. You change physically, you change mentally, and it's something that you don't experience very often, right?
Yeah, so there are two streams, okay? One is where you are involved in the title sponsorship of an event, let's say like a London Marathon or TCS New York City Marathon, the Tata Mumbai Marathon. And then you go or, come on board as the technology partner. How do these two individual things, help you achieve your goal? What do each one of these things bring to the table individually in their individual capacity?
Sure. So whether we're a title partner or supporting level partner across our endurance running space, we look to achieve a few things, right? We want to host clients and prospects and employees around that event, right? Get them to run, get them to volunteer, get them to engage and come join us. We also have authentic technology integrations. So we've created a race app, and we use it across all of our major endurance sponsorships that literally has changed the sport. It has changed the way that spectators and runners engage on race day. We're really proud of that technology. And then third, again, driving impact. So we're able to use these platforms to drive sustainability initiatives, to increase STEM education, right? Using sport and its passion and the excitement that it generates to draw in students and create themes of STEM content, right, around computational thinking and inspire the next generation of computational thinkers. So we really take a 360 approach. We unpeel every aspect of these sponsorships and try to engage at each layer.
But moving on, speaking about Formula E, now e-mobility is something that has been talked about extensively. In the days to come, will there be more investment from TCS towards a sport such as Formula E?
Formula E, like you said, is driving awareness of the future of electric mobility. And what drives us in this space is the opportunity to have conversations and to show people what's possible. We are working right now with the Jaguar TCS racing team on innovations that are going to make that car more sustainable, faster, and particularly have an impact in the greater future of the electric mobility space.
Michelle, moving on, if you see or look at the history of these events like the London Marathon or even the Tata Mumbai Marathon, the title sponsorships always belong to consumer-facing brands. You know, being a B2B brand, how does it really help your business case?
Bringing clients, prospects to engage with them in these shared experiences is incredibly powerful, right? Using them as opportunities to show consumers what's possible with technology. And certainly we find in the spaces that we're engaged in, there's certainly a lot of CXO level executives whose interests are piqued, right, by seeing what's possible. And wow, if TCS can transform the running space, imagine what it could do for my company.
Okay. Finally, Michelle, TCS also, collaborates with the Council for Responsible Sport when it comes to these sponsorships and title sponsorships of these global events. If you can share with us, how has that panned out or worked for the brand?
We've got a fantastic relationship with the Council for Responsible Sport, and it's really driven by purpose. We're a purpose-driven company, and sustainability is one of our core values, something that we are striving to make an impact in. So we had the opportunity to essentially support the Council in their work. We've developed a web-based platform called Rescore, and this is a game changer in sustainability. It's basically a platform that allows any sports team, league, property, or event to measure their efforts against the sustainability goals of the United Nations, right? And by measuring, you start to understand where you stand, know what you need to change, and achieve the sustainability guidelines. So we're incredibly proud of this work. We're using it ourselves in our sponsored properties, and we're excited to see other properties take it on as well.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today and sharing these insights, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. Ad Investment Group M recently released its TYNY report that states that digital at 56% of all advertising spends and growing at 20% over last year is driving the growth of AdX in India. But what are the do's and don'ts of digital advertising? We are finding out from M-Filter CEO and founder Amit Relan. Amit, welcome to CNBC TV18.
All right. Thanks, Shivani. Thanks for inviting me over.
So, Amit, there is no doubt that digital is bigger than ever, but while moving towards first-party data with the demise of third-party cookies, how, according to you, should brands move forward?
I think contextual is one key element. I mean, that's extremely, extremely important in terms of what is the context of the conversation. Like, for example, now if somebody can't reach me directly, but from my context, I am a male 40 plus working into an ad tech industry. Where would I actually be looking at? Second is your narrative. how are you putting up a narrative towards your customers? How does your brand outreach typically happens? That would also be element. I think I'm sure moment marketing elements also pop up, and there could be different elements. One could be like right now, from a tech standpoint, the chat GPT is quite a lot in news. Like typically chat GPT will change the way people will interact and people will consume. So I think that's, if you are a tech brand, and then can that chat GPT element could be looked into.
So digital spend is increasing. What is the best way forward when it comes to measurement on digital? And how much transparency should clients expect in the coming days?
Okay, it's a good question. I think measurement is a holy grail. Essentially, transparency will play an important role, but measurement is, there are two issues with measurement. One is you would have technologies, but then second is there an awareness of that particular measurement? I mean, that's extremely important, because typically the brands which I am working with, quite a lot of my publishers and everything is okay, and then I'm getting a certain returns and way they are measured. Now, from a viewability to viewability is something what people say that, okay, viewability is something what you need to look at. But now, is viewability the only right metrics? Can I look at a click measurement? Can I look at a CTR? Can I look at actually if the click is coming from humans or bots? The whole Elon Musk has done quite a lot of awareness and education from that standpoint. There are bots. They're essentially bots. And hence that supply chain transparency comes into picture. That if you really want to get supply chain transparency, measurement is one by which you take a decision, but then if the supply itself is wrong, and the whole product decisions goes for a toss. So it's a combination of this, but there is lots and lots of awareness required. And this is one subject which no one wants to talk. But I would say something is common sense. I mean, forget about tools, forget about third-party measurement providers like us. That's not important, but something is common sense. For example, if I get like on CNBC, if I get 1 million clicks in one day, I mean, and if it is all coming from a specific location, if it is all coming from same devices, isn't that common sense? But I am very happy that I have 1 million views or 1 billion views or whatever. Is that the right measurement? You're measuring it. You're measuring certain transactions. Something is very, very common sensical. And I think that is something what needs to be looked into. And with
But Amit, even if we apply that common sense, the ad industry is losing millions of dollars per day. Bots, ad fraud has been discussed extensively. How do you arrest that?
with inflationary pressures coming in, expected in 2023 globally, now every buck which is being spent, it's not a way of, now there is only growth, but then there is efficiency also. Now, with this narrative, I think this should come in forefront. At least if there are leakages that can be prevented, and then and I still say common sense again. Forget about any tools. If the brands can measure basic capabilities of their platforms, directionally they can get sense. They have enough of analytics firepower available internally. And then third is there are remedy measures also given by the platforms. It's not the platforms don't give a remedial measures. Whether it is Google, whether it is Facebook, whether it is other large platforms, they also have to look at transparency as the core. Will they say it in open? And will they say this proactively? No, because there's a bit of a conflict of interest from that standpoint. But if I am the one, I'm the custodian of the money and it's my money, do you allow leakages? You will not allow leakages. So I'm just saying there are tools and capabilities available in plenty, and we are also one of the solution providers in the space. But I would say this can be looked in, this can be addressed, but more questions needs to be asked by the brand. The more we ask, we would become better. Sure. And I also expect in conversations like this, where media plays its part, ensuring that there is education and awareness. There is enough education and awareness on B2C space that the consumer is siphoned, his money is siphoned off, or he had a phishing attack. There is enough of that material available. But from a B2B standpoint, with inflation aspects extremely vulnerable to external elements, so it's important that we do these elements. And globally, it's almost about a $90 billion plus problem. India is close to about 4,000 crores was lost last year.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yes, and we would say that there are two ways to look at it. One is like, for example, I'm sure you would have seen every media top platforms are saying there's a less advertisement revenue coming in. That's one. Second is that there is inflation. Now, third is cookies are going away, so the context plays an important role. So if I combine all this, I think it's a very, very good elements to look at optimization. You can get better pricing deals with your platform.
Welcome back. Lenskart founder Piyush Bansal is amongst the few new-gen founders and CEOs who have appeared in their own brand's commercials as themselves. In a short series of ad films, Bansal features along with Bollywood producer and fashion icon Karan Johar, who's also known to always spot interesting eyewear. Today, we are joined in by Bansal, who tells us more about this campaign's genesis and why he ended up featuring in it with Johar and why he doesn't consider himself a celebrity founder. Listen in.
Hello and welcome to Storyboard 18, Piyush. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks for inviting me.
So I'm just going to sort of kick off with asking you about the campaign that just came out. It's doing pretty well. It's caught on. People are watching it, reacting to it. You featured in it. Let's talk a little bit about the genesis of the campaign to begin with. What was the brief to the agency and how did you sort of get started?
Yeah, great. I think, so the brief, firstly, I want to clarify that the brief to the agency wasn't to cast me in the ad, right? A lot of people may assume that would be the case, but I don't have any celebrity goals and nor am I a celebrity entrepreneur. It's been almost like a decade, to be honest. I have been wanting, I do feel that a lot of the things that we do at Lenskart are differentiated from what you get in the market outside. And so that is one of the problems that we deal with. And we wanted to figure out a way to communicate that. And similarly, there were other things that I always felt that we as a brand are not able to communicate because we are more affordable. So, usually when things are more affordable, consumers feel that they are not as good quality. But I wanted to figure out a way that, we really tell people that, because once I was sitting at a gathering of my friends and one of my friends had bought a pair of glasses from us and he mentioned a line that stuck with me, and this is a few years back, that, by the way, I bought glasses and I faced some problem after 2-3 months. And but what more can you expect at that price, right? And that kind of stuck to me, like, why don't you expect more at that price? I mean, this could happen to something that you bought for maybe a few $100s versus, $40-50. So yeah, I think so. The brief to the agency was two things. One is, what can we do to really communicate this point of that while we may be affordable, tell them why are we affordable, and the fact that, it is not cheap. There is a lot of aspiration in the brand.
But I know you said you don't have, aspirations to be a celebrity founder. But let's face it, you are a celebrity founder, right? So just generally, founders, CEOs are more accessible these days, right? And regardless of anything you might say, but Shark Tank has propelled the whole bunch of you to sort of national fame. So it entails a lot. And even if you don't perhaps consciously cultivate that image, has your view on personal branding evolved during this time?
I did Shark Tank season 1 purely for my love for Shark Tank, having watched all seasons multiple times and almost getting inspired to be an entrepreneur very early days of watching it. I'm doing season 2 because now it is almost like the entrepreneurs that have gotten inspired and the impact that it has made in India at a segment which was not happening before with just the pure VC investments. It's almost like become more of a responsibility than anything, to be honest, right? And, I became an entrepreneur because I got inspired by Bill Gates and I got inspired by a bunch of these people. And now there is this segment in India which is now turning to be entrepreneurs, especially the 5 to 15-year-old kids who are now talking about entrepreneurship. If you really go on the ground, it's completely changed. So it's like okay, now how do you say no to this and kind of thing? And to be honest, I've learned more listening to the pitches of and staying connected to the outer world and staying hungry and staying tuned to what the pace at which stuff is happening in India. So there is some personal incentive in terms of helping Lenskart grow and staying relevant. When I did this ad, it was literally to what works to allow Lenskart to go to the next level. Now, all of this put together, I would say I still don't have celebrity goals, but at the same time, I do feel that my number one goal is to take Lenskart to the next level. My number one goal is to make Lenskart, the Amazon of eyewear. My number one goal is to make Lenskart a global brand and to make it synonymous to eyewear in India. And in that process, some of this is new form of communication with the new age audience, because traditional advertising, traditional communication is not relevant anymore. In today's environment, people relate to brands, they've become smarter. You just can't do something which you don't really believe in. You just can't communicate something which is not true. It's like, I'm never going to wear eyewear, but you made me a celebrity and talk about eyewear. In today's environment, that may not be as relevant. We're all privy to what's happening on social media and influencers. And so, yeah, in that view, yes, there may be, I haven't yet mastered this, but I do feel that knowing the context and the why of the brand helps consumers associate more than ever in today's environment. And I am able to deliver that why and the purpose to people probably in today's time and the moment that we are better than some others. So that's how I think of it. But I think of it as a transient phase in the evolution of the brand.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's coming up next in terms of some of the key marketing activities that you're looking at? Where is the sort of next phase of growth going to come from? Can we get a little bit into that?
See, I think for Lenskart, particularly at the stage where we are, I think we don't really have a problem with reach, right? And we have quite a bit of that going for us, touch one. What we really need to do in our advertising is really talk to communities of people and segments of people in a very personalized way, so that they can relate to us. That's how I feel, right, in today's environment. I'm not really looking at advertising, which is really just one solution fits all. I'm looking at how can we talk to you the way you want us to talk to you, so that you feel we understand you, which we want to. If we won't understand you, we'll never be able to talk to you that way. So the idea is to really get down to the real micro communities of people, understand their behavior, develop eyewear for their needs, which will allow them. I do feel that internal and external brand cannot be different in today's environment, right? You can't be something outside and you can't be something inside. You can't communicate something and you are something else. It's pretty much very, very difficult. So for us, what's important is to really document what we are internally, what do we do internally, and let the world know in that much transparency. And if there are things that we want to be, the work starts first internally, and then we can go communicate to people.
So given sort of the current climate and mood, what is your outlook going forward?
I think this is a phase, literally. And this is not the first time. Somehow, every time such a phase comes, people get really emotional about it. I think you need to look past through this phase and see what's ahead. And what's ahead is that, entrepreneurship is at its peak, consumption is at its peak, tech is at its peak, talent density is improving, per capita GDP is improving. And yes, markets has its sentiments and they may not always be rational. And sometimes, one company may affect many others. So I just feel these are great opportunities for businesses to get some time to really accelerate, bet on the bigger bets, take some time off and think about what could do, hire best talent in the market, right? It's like a honeymoon period for us right now, because all the talent that we would keep calling and trying to get them to the table is today on the table. So yeah, you have to look past this. Um, if you're really building something for the long term, then this is just one of those cycles you have to live by. And this is not the first time. At least I've seen 2, 3 of these in the past, and I'm not bothered, and I care less, to be honest.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And